Good morning. This is Leon Matthews with Rez Ramblings, and I had a couple things to share. In the next couple weeks, it's July 1st, and we're going to be celebrating July 4th and Independence Day for America, for the United States of America, and so I'm really excited because I have good news. I'll be returning back to the radio, Kili, Kili, 90.1 in Pine Ridge, and it also has a translator in Rapid City, South Dakota. And it is also worldwide, so at kiliradio.org, and we'll be broadcasting in a couple weeks. And I'm excited because I get to visit with my friend Russell Means, and he's a really he's quite the interesting person. And you want to say character, you want to say historical figure, you want to say a lot of different things, but he's just a really interesting character and friend, and I believe that he was willing to stand up for the Lakota people as well as the indigenous people of this United States. And I was just visiting with him on Wednesday, and we were talking back and forth, and I said, I said, this stuff should be recorded. And then we start talking about going back on the radio and creating a dialogue, so to speak, and just trying to figure out, what can be done, for the 21st century American Indian. And so I was really excited about that. We were talking about a few different things, and one of the things that some of the topics, of discussion will be, there's this idea, excuse me, there's this idea that a lot of people stand on, and you see people carrying around the 1868 treaty, but there was a policy created during the Civil War, and it was called Scorched Earth. And General Sherman, William Tecumseh Sherman, basically went through the South, and every woman, they gang raped her, and they pillaged the town, and they marched all the way to Atlanta. And Sherman became very famous for his Civil War tactics, and he was a really strange fellow. He practiced. He worked for a bank in San Francisco, and he was in New York, and then back to San Francisco, and he practiced law in somewhere in Kansas, Leavenworth, and a historical city, but it also has a prison. But he tried these different things, and he failed, but eventually he went back to the Army, and he volunteered for the South. He was the president of the LSU, which became LSU, Louisiana State University, and it was actually a training for Army, I think, a military training institute, but eventually became LSU. Well, he went on to Civil War, victory, and then after that they sent him to the Western Front because they had a problem, and this problem was called the Indian problem. And so what better guy to send, than one of the most evil men during the Civil War. So he first fought the Kiowa, and they basically started to destroy the food source for the Plains Indian, and drive us into poverty and starvation. I guess poverty and starvation, they could be separate things. But in 1868, at the Fort Laramie Treaty, where the Great Sioux Nation came together, and they developed a treaty together. Some people even believe that, you'll hear this in common everyday conversation on the reservation, but you will see that when they took the treaty, they took it to Chicago, and a lot of people say Sherman changed it. Well, regardless of that, the 1868 treaty is a very powerful document. It is. It's a very good document, even with the changes. But the issue is this, right? You have this man, Sherman and Sheridan, talking about the only good Indian is a dead Indian. And what's fascinating about that is that it doesn't stop there. The only good Indian is a dead Indian. Sherman went on to say, but all the Indians look alike, so we need to kill them all. And the ones we do not kill will move into obscurity and to poverty. And if you look at the 21st century Indian, 140 years later, after 68, I guess that's 40 years, I don't know, do the math, right? But here's the idea. 140 years later, there are 4 reservations in South Dakota that are in the top 10 poorest places in America. There's the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation, there's the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation, which is number 1, and there's the Rosebud Sioux Reservation, and then the Oglala Sioux Reservation. And these reservations are some of the poorest places in America. And, so if you look at Sherman and his policies, because he was sent here to destroy the American Indian. And his policies are still working today. And, in the tribal councils, I wrote in the paper, we need to come together and we need to rebuild the Great Sioux Nation. Because together, united, they can't break us. But see, that's what they did. They put the reservation, the concentration camps, the prison camps, they developed them so that they could separate us. They killed our three of our greatest chiefs, Spotted Tail, Crazy Horse, and Sitting Bull. Those are the most, probably the most, recognizable chiefs that we have. And they wiped them out. Why? Because they probably said something. And so, here's the deal, right? And if you're thinking about running for tribal council, you're thinking about tribal politics or history, Sherman was sent out here to take care of the Indian problem. And he managed fairly well. So the deal is this, right? So in the 21st century, we're still affected by this. So what are you going to do? And the most practical thing we can do as a people is come together. The Great Sioux Nation needs to rise up, and it needs to start developing. We need trade, and we need coming together. We need meetings that are going to change the history of our people. And so I mean, that's the most practical thing you can do. I don't know if it'll happen because, maybe egos will get in the way, but if you read and understand the Lakota culture, humility is a key, all right? It's thinking of others before you think of yourself. So if you're going to elect a leader, you should elect a Lakota leader, someone who thinks of others before he thinks of himself. And, and understand there were men sent here to kill us. And they did a pretty good job. They wiped out quite a few Lakota people. And so now what we need to do is we need to rise up, embrace each other as the Oyate, as relatives, because we are truly all related, and that we come together as the allies. We come together as people that have a connection. So, think about that. And I think, as we move forward and we're doing some video, going back on the radio, I hope that we can discuss this and have a dialogue, and develop some strategies that will help us to build a better tomorrow. And we can do that today by just listening to each other. So I hope that you have a great day. This is July 4th, and I have green on again but I guess it's kind of one of my favorite colors, if not my favorite. So, but it is spring. Spring is spring's over. It's summer. All right, you guys have a great day, and we'll get back at you, and stay tuned because you'll hear when me and Russell Means will be on the radio. So have a great day and happy 4th of July.